So what do you think? How dangerous is trick-or-treating in your area? I understand we've already getting some teachers that are sending messages in saying their kids are coming in to elementary school with devil costumes on. So it is happening. So we just got confirmation on that. See, I'm sorry. I just think to make this normal and to glamorize it, Jerry, I think it's very, very dangerous. I think we're just playing around with the demons, and those demons are fallen angels. So they're very powerful.
Phones are starting to ring right now. Matt Gabinski will take your call at 833-288-3986. If you're a parent, a grandparent, you're the ones right there on the front lines seeing what's going on. And, of course, there is that relatively new threat of fentanyl, rainbow-colored fentanyl being passed off as candy, which could kill our children. I was doing some research online before the show, Debbie. There are some sources are saying, this is really a serious concern. Others are saying, no, it's just not going to happen. But as a parent, do you take that chance? I remember when we were growing up, my own experience, I don't remember what we dressed up as, but we were out for hours. We lived in a small coastal town. Everybody knew everybody, so it was a very different world back then. Mm-hmm, but we would be out for hours, Debbie, and Mom wouldn't care, we'd come home with 2 pillowcases full of candy.
Right. But speak about that, Jerry, because when we were growing up, we knew our neighbors. We knew them by name. We could go to their homes. They sometimes would leave their back door open, and we could go right into. I remember that with my neighbor. I used to go right into her house. Okay, we don't have that same situation now. You are living next to people you barely say hello to. And you're going to accept candy from them and food from them. We don't know what their background is, what they're doing. I have a beautiful street where I live on. It's just beautiful, wonderful families and couples and young kids. And on both sides, on either side of our home, are these lawn decorations, these blow-up Halloween decorations, and they just filled their whole front lawn. And it's that way all the way down the street. So everybody's really into Halloween decorations this year. But it's funny, I don't see as much activity during the Christmas season. It's kind of interesting. So we're going all out on a holiday that could be very potentially dangerous, I think, for our kids. And I'm not an alarmist, Jerry. I'm not. You know that. Mm-hmm. I just think now we're in a much different time.
Well, maybe you agree with Debbie's assessment. Maybe you disagree. Maybe your church is doing something. My parish this afternoon is doing trunk or treat. Any kids in the neighborhood, we have the cars pull up into the church parking lot and decorate the cars, and it's really a cool experience for the kids. They get a big dousing of holy water from Father Paul. So maybe your parish, your school, your community, maybe you have a community association or you know the neighbors well enough. Or, as a parent, I would, maybe at the very least, you go out along with your kids, and most parents, of course, have done that through the years. So talking about Halloween, is it any more dangerous than it used to be, or how do you approach it as a parent or a grandparent? 833-288-3986. Stand Tall Today features an incredible fellowship club with over 300 members, Zoom presentations, individual, group, and crisis coaching, exclusive interviews, and more. Initial consultations with one of our outstanding team of life coaches are always free. Stand Tall Today is designed to help you on the journey of life by sharing hope, love, peace, and joy, and by being a light to the world. Visit StandTallToday.com.
Have you ever heard someone say, you've got to believe in yourself? G.K. Chesterton says the people who believe in themselves are all in lunatic asylums. You have to believe in something outside yourself. You have to believe that there's a greater reality than the one inside your head. If the only thing you believe in is yourself, your world will become very small, about the size of a padded cell. We live in a world that rejects the worship of the one true God and has substituted something called the God within. But as Chesterton says, if Jones is told to worship the God within, it ultimately means that Jones shall worship Jones.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information and go to EWTNRC.com to discover more books and programs written and inspired by G.K. Chesterton.
Very important feast. We get, as Catholic Christians, we prepare for, of course, the beautiful All Saints' Day. Every saint who is in heaven gets celebrated tomorrow on All Saints' Day. It is a holy day of obligation, at least in my diocese. Hopefully it is in yours. So be sure you get to Mass tomorrow and then All Souls' Day right after that. But we're talking today about Halloween and how, you know, like so many things, like Easter has become about bunnies and chocolate, you know, eggs and stuff like that. And, you know, Christmas has become about something very different than what we really celebrate there. Same with this day, I believe, you know, over the years. And it's fairly innocent for the most part. I mean, like I said, when I was growing up, we trick-or-treated all the time. We were out for hours and, you know, there weren't many concerns. But nowadays, you know, with all the weirdness going on in the world, we just want to know if you do or do not feel like maybe things have changed in terms of your kids trick-or-treating, and if things are a little bit more ominous or dangerous out there. So call us at 833-288-3986. And before we go to Mark in Encino Valley, I just want to mention quickly that EWTN's religious catalog is really, it should be your go-to place for your Christmas shopping. And they have a pine Advent wreath with ivory poinsettias. The Advent wreath is less than a month away, so be ready to celebrate this holy season with a lovely Advent wreath made with artificial pine branches and decorated with ivory poinsettias. Gold and green leaves with some glittery accents and golden berries enhance the beauty of this wreath, which can be used on and into the Christmas season. It's 14 inches in diameter, and Advent candles are not included but can be purchased separately. This is available now at EWTNRC.com, where you get free standard shipping for online orders $75 or more. That's in the continental United States. Just use code FREE when you check out.
Okay, so Jerry, before we get to Mark, I just want to remind our listeners twice, because Adam Bly really cares about the Take Two family. He's our friend and religious demonologist, and he's a peritus, an expert in his work that he does in demonology. And he said, please just remind the parents and kids to say grace over the candy, just like any other food. In rare cases, a witch or Satanist may curse the candy as part of their festival day. Okay, so I just wanted to remind folks to at least do that as your kids are bringing this candy from all sorts of places into the home. Okay, Mark is up first in California on Sirius XM 130. Hello, Mark.
Hi, guys. I'd like to make two good points, and I think it might be useful if I did. First of all, the Roman Catholic Church, which is my religion, I'm assuming it's yours too, we allow people to play roles in movies. That means that you can actually play a witch and say some sort of incantation, but it's a movie, so it's not real. You're simply illustrating something that people would see if they ran into a scary movie. It happens in Shakespeare's Macbeth. You know, it's part of our tradition. And so when kids dress up for Halloween, they're not dressing up as creatures, you know, so they can be creatures. They're portraying creatures. My second is, there are certainly examples of Christian magic, and this is the fairy tale magic of, say, the fairy godmother. This is not an evil creature that's trying to use magic to advance its own aims. The only way to tell that story is to show that the evil creature who used magic to advance his own aims dies or suffers horribly, like in The Princess and the Frog. But someone like Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White, or one of Aslan's deity friends, the casters of elvish spells and so forth, these are not threats. We must distinguish this so kids can dress up as Gandalf. What say you?
Do you want to go first, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I'm actually, Mark, I'm not. I assume you're speaking of movie characters, and I am admittedly not much of a moviegoer. I have heard of these characters before, but I believe you're making a good point. This is not saying that they're taking on this persona or wishing to go down this particular path in life and so forth. If I have a concern about it, about kids dressing up as devils and witches and so forth, it's the fact that those things actually do exist. Those people do exist. People who become witches, people who practice Wiccan religion, people who are into all kinds of things, child sacrifice and very ugly stuff. And we have to acknowledge that those things are out there. And so if there's any risk in this at all, in my opinion, it would be that it's maybe, making it so that the kids see it as something that might be just okay. Maybe it just opens them up a little bit more to it, softens their stance perhaps against that. But Debbie, I don't know if you want to clarify anything that I said
no,
there,
I think that was excellent. Mark, I just wanted to say too that when you dress up as these characters, whether, in like the Wizard of Oz, the good witch or the bad witch or whatever, you are tending, you bring that, you're making it very normal and acceptable. And it can be, and it is very dangerous. And Mark, you talked something to the effect about these idea of a good incantation or a spell or something like that, of that nature. Initially, all of these people that go into the occult, they may have a good quote unquote intention, but they are making a deal with the devil. The devil starts off good. That's how he hooks you. That's how he brings you in. And then once he has you, even if you had a good intention to help another person, that's when it turns, and now you are in contract with the devil. So there's a lot of underlying elements here that are problematic, especially for children to view these characters as something just equal to, a superhero or something of that nature. It's very disturbing, Mark, because kids are now seeing this as friendly, as opposed to something they need to stay away from. What do you think about that?
All right. My point is, Gandalf the Grey cannot, by definition, be evil. But he is an angelic being. He's not even human. He was sent to help us in the Lord of the Rings. And if you say that just because he uses magic means he's evil, you're missing the point. We Catholics invented the fairy tale. The fairy tale wasn't designed to get you hooked on the occult. It was designed to lift your eyes to heaven, to see the miraculous. And everybody loves that stuff. Now, if you're talking about people that are going out there dressing up as evil people because they have made an evil decision, I don't think you're talking about the overwhelming percentage of people that simply like Halloween and like to express themselves on the holiday.
What is the expression, though, Mark? Tell me what the expression is.
Tell me again what you mean by expression.
Well, you said just because people like to go out on Halloween and to express themselves, what is the expression that they're trying to make? What's the impression?
Well, they're trying to be someone they're not. If someone dresses up as, say, Gandalf the Grey, that kid isn't advertising magic to improve yourself or to corrupt the souls of others. If someone else dresses up as a witch or something, if they walk around with tarot cards, that's a red flag. But if they're simply saying, I'm a witch, hoo-hoo, ha-ha, that's harmless. You have to distinguish between the two. It just isn't when you go to a movie or a play and you witness a murder on stage. You're not witnessing a real murder, and you're not condoning the act of murder. You must distinguish these things. We are quite complex in Christ.
Well, Mark, we love your passion, brother. Absolutely. And I just thought, I wanted to look up a passage in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and I did. And I'll just read this, and then we're going to need to move on because we have full phone lines here. But this is paragraph 2117 in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. All practices of magic or sorcery by which one attempts to tame occult powers so as to place them at one's service and have a supernatural power over others, even if this were for the sake of restoring their health, are gravely contrary to the virtue of religion. These practices are even more to be condemned when accompanied by the intention of harming someone, or when they have recourse to the intervention of demons. Wearing charms is also reprehensible. Spiritism often implies divination or magical practices. The Church, for her part, warns the faithful against it. Recourse to so-called traditional cures does not justify either the invocation of evil powers or the exploitation of another's credulity. So I think
that covers
for
it
the
there.
sake of time, we're going to have to leave it right there. And, Mark, God bless you again for your passion, brother, and we appreciate you being part of the program today, getting in first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, let's move on to Saeed in Michigan on Holy Family Radio. I hope I pronounced your first name correctly. Hello, Saeed?
Hello, yes.
Welcome.
Did I get your name right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, God bless you. So take it away.
Okay, so I have thoughts on that. I actually am a parent, and I was warned about the fentanyl, and God is not a coincidental, a coincidence, you know the word, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But he intentionally lets us know, as well as the enemy. The enemy puts it in our face so often. He's like, here, let's dabble in this. Here, let's do this. And our kids do get caught up in the excitement of it, and they miss that the devil is very real. Demons, fallen angels are very real. So I teach my son this, and I actually gave him the option this year. I explained to him what he would be partaking in and asked him, hey, do you want to do this? And my son came to me and he said no. And I was thrown away because literally he was in it for the candy. He would dress up. And this is an argument that's hard to have when two parents have two different parenting styles, when the rest of the family does not believe in those things, although they read the Bible and go to churches. It's kind of a sensitive subject, so I'm glad you guys asked about it. But it's very real. When they're playing as witches and they're saying these sorceries and reading these books, they are partaking in saying, hey, devil, I welcome you in my life. And what a lot of parents don't realize is they welcome those things into our homes, not only into their selves, into our homes. So we have to be very mindful of what we allow our kids to partake in, even though another parent may argue and say it's just candy. If there was a bomb threat in a school, we would take that very seriously. Our children would not be going to school until we knew that it was no longer there. But this fentanyl is just so out of there. Oh, no, people would never do that. And it's insane to me. We should take those same precautions because these are our kids. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. He doesn't love our children. He doesn't care about them. We do. So if we do, we should take more heed to these warnings and actually take into consideration that the devil is out to kill, steal, and destroy. So why wouldn't he do something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So, Saida, let me ask you a question. Did you hear Mark's call before? Could you hear it when you were on hold?
Yes, I did.
Okay, how did you feel about when he was bringing up the reference of the characters of the Lord of the Rings and other? I'm sure he could probably throw Harry Potter in there as well, or some of these other things. What did you think of that as a parent?
I thought that is very heartbreaking because unfortunately his kids will be affected by his choices. We make the decisions for our children, especially when they're younger, and we are held accountable for them. That's in the Bible. I could read the word about that, but yeah, so it's just kind of one of those moments where, and God bless him, I don't mean any harm by this, but he's still blinded to the enemy's tactics and how he operates. And it's very sad because my son, I won't allow him to watch things like Harry Potter and whatnot. Or if I do, I educate him and let him know this is sorcery. We don't partake in that. This is the devil's work. This is not something you should be proud of or copying.
Right. And it's against God's commands. So, Saeed, I just wanted to say, I go back to this. We have a lot of parents just like yourself that are weighing in with messages, and they're saying that they're disturbed by the normalization of things, how everything has become, equal. Okay, so you could have like Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, somebody dressed as Saint Teresa of Calcutta, and somebody dressed as a sorcerer, and it's okay, it's all equal, because it's a costume, and so people are very disturbed by that, and I understand. I agree with you, Saeed. I understand Mark's passion about this because I believe in the quote unquote old days, it may not have been that dangerous because we didn't have as many options by way of the computer and the smartphones and television. But now it's everywhere around us. So the devil is coming in in every little crack. And the moment that door is opened, or an invitation or an acceptance in any way, shape, or form, the devil just knows to go in and at least try to see what they can do. What do you think about that, Jerry? I mean, I just think it's so dangerous. I think we need to shut all the doors around our kids.
Well, I would just say it this way. I don't think kids make the connection between the costumes they're wearing and what they potentially represent in reality. Maybe they don't make the connection. But I just want to say, and if Mark, if you're still listening, and Saeed, we are not intending the show to be anti-Halloween, anti-trick-or-treating, families getting together and doing things. I think, Saeed, you make the right point. Take extreme precautions. That's all that I think we're probably, in summary, what this discussion is all about, Debbie. Unless I'm missing the point there. I just think we're just trying to put up a flag out there, say, folks, things aren't what they used to be, as you just said.
Right. And that's what we're trying to say. What do you think, Saeed?
Yes, I totally agree. And unfortunately, I just want to say one last thing. When we allow them to do those things, that opens doors a lot of times for mental health issues, which lead to, I'm not going to say what's next, but we know what usually comes after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting. I just heard an article this morning, real quickly, that the emergency rooms are getting inundated with people coming in with, hallucinations and all sorts of paranoid behavior from and ingesting too much marijuana and the products that come with it. And everybody thought that was going to be harmless too, and it's not. So, you see how the things start rolling into something that's destructive. Saeed, thank you so much. We'll be back on the other side of the break. More of your calls on trick-or-treating.
When I was a youth minister with a young family, I took on a side job as a recruiter to make ends meet. I was hired by Ken Hensley. He'd been a Baptist pastor, but felt like God was calling him to become Catholic, so he lost everything rebuilding his livelihood recruiting. I tried for 6 months and I failed at that job. 20 years later, a friend of mine with means reached out to me wanting to start a ministry supporting pastors who were becoming Catholic, and I knew just the guy. That launched Ken into full-time work for the church, not only supporting Catholic converts, but preaching internationally. Now he's living his dream. So what's the point of my story? Well, it would have been easy for me at that time of my life as a recruiter to think that was a sidetrack from God's plan and a waste of my time. But if I hadn't been there doing that, Ken wouldn't be making the impact he is today. See, sometimes when you don't feel like you're living out your purpose, maybe that time in your life's not about you, but maybe you're exactly where God wants you the most. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is on YouTube. Search YouTube to find the EWTN YouTube channel so you'll never miss an episode of our show or any of your favorite EWTN radio shows.
Are you prepared to vote?
Citizens have co-responsibility for society, and this duty especially obliges those in a democracy who must elect representatives to run the state on their behalf.
Learn more so you're prepared when you vote this November. Visit EWTN.com/vote for everything Catholic voters need to know before picking up a ballot.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. Do you have questions about the Catholic faith? Get the answers on Call to Communion, coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
So good to have you with us here on this Monday of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I want to thank Ace McKay, our producer. Jeff Burson is on social media. If you're viewing the video stream on Facebook or YouTube, hello to you. And he is pulling some of the comments from there, and we hope to get to some of those here in a couple minutes. And also Matt Gubensky is doing his usual great job on the phones at 833-288-3986. As always, we thank our affiliates for carrying the program. And along those lines, we would like to say hello to a longtime member of the EWTN radio family. Our friends at Trinity Catholic Radio are celebrating their 17th year with us. That's KYMJ FM 103.1 in Carroll, Iowa. So congratulations to Dave Prenger and his great team at Trinity Catholic Radio from your friends right here at EWTN Radio.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're going to get back to the phones to Jenny in Munster, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, I am great. So, our little town of Munster, it's Sacred Heart Parish. We have a tradition that goes back. I think my mother started it. Anyway, the children dress up as saints, and we have a little saints procession going into Mass, and all the little saints sit there together, and it is just super cool. And I love it so much because I love our saints. So I have become the keeper of the costumes. So in my barn, I have tubs and tubs of saints costumes, and every October I get them all out, and just to make it easy on the moms, I let them know that they can bring their little children over, and we can, I talk with the children and find out who they want to be or which saint they really love, and then we get a costume together for them. And it's just super fun. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I love it.
What's beautiful about that, and getting back to the main question of costumes, I guess, it seems to me, I remember from my own experience, I chose Halloween costumes based on someone or something that I aspired to be. One year I was a football player. I wanted to be a football player. And so I think kids do that, and so that's why if there's any concern with them, with them dressing up as, evil characters or whatever, again, it gets back to that's something that they, I guess, look up to and they admire and they respect. And again, like I said before, they probably don't make the connection between the costume and the reality, which is hopefully a good thing. But I love what you're doing, Jenny. A lot of people do that. It's a great chance for kids not only to dress up as their favorite saint, but to read up and study up on those saints and learn about their lives. And Debbie, that can do nothing but good for children in their spiritual faith lives.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And to your point, Jerry, we used to have these different Halloween years where people would say, dress up what you want to be when you grow up. So people would dress up as doctors or, firefighters or something like that. It was very interesting. I mean, one year I did dress up in my aunt's her habit. But I didn't want to be. I don't think I really wanted to be a nun. But Jenny, I do think that's a good use of the costumes. I mean, there's nothing. A lot of these heroes in these films and different productions, I understand it. It has a bigger than life feeling, and it has maybe some good, intentions associated to it, and whatnot. But, what are we compromising? It's one day of the year. And, I think the best use would be the highest use and for God. And that's what it seems like you're doing with the saint procession. So I love that. And you're educating, you're informing, you're catechizing. It's a beautiful way to spark the interest in the saints. I love it, Jenny. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I would really encourage other parishes to do it because I just think it develops such a great devotion to the saints, and it's just so neat to see the kids some years, year after year, they'll come as the same saint, which I love because it's like a devotion to that saint. And other kids every year will be something different, which is great because they're learning about a new saint every year. So it's just a great way to learn about our saints.
Sure.
Jenny, you mentioned that you think it was your mom who started this. I'd be curious if you can recall back to if it was your mother who started it. I presume you probably dressed up as a few saints when you were that age, or did you not? I'm just curious which saints you chose if you did.
I did. I think we did a lot of like first century saints, with the tunics, like Saint Anne, and of course there's always a lot of Blessed Mothers, and so yeah, it's a lot of it's neat. It's neat to see with my kids too. Like my favorite saint is Saint Thomas More, and so I made a little Saint Thomas More suit whenever one of my boys was young, and my youngest son, he's been Saint Thomas More for I don't know, like 4 or 5 years in a row, and we have to like modify the costume to make it fit every year. But it's just fun. It's neat.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, and with the saint procession, I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's a great use of dressing up in costumes. But if you wanted something a little less religious, you know, I've always said this. Why can't we go back to the days when people were dressing like M&Ms and, you know, and stuff like that? You know, why do we have to pick characters that potentially can be controversial? Why do potentially, I say, I'm not saying anything's against a great literary work or anything like that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just asking the question. And Jerry, maybe you can answer. Jenny, maybe you can answer real quickly before we let you go. Why do we have to pick things that potentially could be a problem? What do you think, Jenny?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like my oil dilemma. You know, if you are trying to be a healthy mom, you know, some people say canola oil is wonderful. Some say it's terrible. Some say, you know, the different oils are, that everybody says olive oil is good. So we use olive oil. You know, like the other ones, maybe they're good, maybe they're not. But why don't we just go with something we know is good? And it's the same way for this, I think, as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good thought. I love that. Great line of
analogy.
thinking.
Yeah,
it really was good. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so very much. And I just have to say this because we're getting messages flying in all over the place. Mark, if you want to continue the conversation from California, please email us. We would love to continue. Take2@EWTN.com because a lot of good thoughts both ways, and I think we could continue the conversation. So, Mark, if you're listening, please, we invite you to email us.
Yeah, again, that's take2@EWTN.com. Today is Halloween. We're talking about the day of Halloween itself. We, of course, know the Christian meaning of it. It's the eve of All Saints' Day. Very, very special time, beautiful time for us as Christians. And, of course, it does include the trick-or-treating, and we're just asking you your thoughts on this, you know. How has it changed maybe since you were a child? Do you let your kids trick or treat? What do you let them dress up as in their costumes? Do you have church events or neighborhood events where it's a little bit safer? Are you concerned about some of the things like the rainbow fentanyl that some people are warning is going to be out there in some trick or treat bags? 833-288-3986 is the number.
And just in case you were wondering, some of these Halloween places that you go pick up these costumes that seem so harmless, some of the costumes are manufactured from foreign countries, and some of the costumes have satanic symbols etched right into the costumes. Okay, that a lot of exorcists have spoken about this. They've talked about it. So you see, you may go to a home and it's a wonderful Halloween party with lots of candy and lots of fun things, and you could be standing right next to someone that has all of this, costume that has cursed images all throughout it. So you see, you don't want to get too close to anything. That's another angle we need to talk about. Let's stay away from things that are dangerous.
Okay, Lydia has been holding very patiently in Midland, Texas, listening on our friends at Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, how you doing this morning?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm fine. I just want to say, as a grown-up, because I was one of those innocent kids that went trick-or-treating, and back in those days, you know, it was wonderful times. It was like people would dress up like ghosts or pumpkins and this innocent kind of characters. But, I went trick-or-treating because that was the thing to do back then because, you know, it was kind of, it was like, oh my gosh, the whole year we had to wait for Halloween to go trick-or-treating and just have fun. But I went to a house, and I still remember it to this very day, and I still can't forget it. And this old man told me, well, I gave you a treat, little girl, but you better give me a trick. And the way he said it was kind of scary, so I just ran away from him and said he was a bad old man. And anyway, me and my cousin, we went to another area where it's more safer. And this lady, she said, oh, honey, I just went to a Halloween party. I don't have no candy, but I got some hot dogs I give to you. Oh, man, we're hungry. Yeah, we take your hot dogs. So, and she was a nice lady because we can tell she was a nice lady. You know how it is when you meet some people, you know they're nice or bad. And this lady she was a sweetheart. And so we had the hot dogs and we enjoyed it. And she kind of offset the bad memory that old man had given us. because I literally got scared, and they taught me when my kids grew up. I said, you know what? We're going to the churches. We're going to go to the trunk treats, and we're going to go to the autumn festivals. I said, because this Halloween stuff is really getting out of hand, and it's not like it used to be innocent and fun. Now it's getting to be mixed feelings and dangerous, because a lot of people are thinking, well, you're putting too much to this. I said, no, we're not putting it. The bad people did this, okay? And we have to be careful. We have to protect our innocent children, because our kids, all they want to have is fun. All they want to do is have my candy. And I'm thinking, I said, well, now it's coming to the point where the parents have to buy the candy and say, hey, guess what the pumpkin left you? And let them, be surprised with that,
Mm-hmm.
Just don't hand them the candy. Just put them, kind of wrap it up in a beautiful cellophane and say, guess what the pumpkin people did? The pumpkin man came over and gave you some candy, and make a new tradition, because the innocence of receiving gifts for the holidays and especially the Halloween one. I mean, it's getting to the point where people are saying about the fentanyl gummies. There are bad people that would do that, because you remember once upon a time when you had to take your candy to the X-ray machine at the hospital, and they found safety pins and all kinds of dangerous objects. If the child was to swallow it, they can die from it. Mm-hmm. So, and now you can't X-ray gummies because you can't see the gummies, right? Mm-hmm. So you just have to be prepared just to take care of your children and have fun, and go to the churches where it's the best place, and go to your aunts and grandmas and your friends' house, and don't go to a stranger's house, because nowadays, like you say, you just don't know who lives there.
Right. Lydia, great advice. I love your wisdom. And I agree with you. My husband and I did the same thing. We have 4 boys next door to us. They're wonderful kids. I love them. I've talked about them a few times on the show. I think they're adorable. And we brought them over each a bag of candy, and we said, boys, we'd love to see your costumes. And they showed us, and it was wonderful. And we gave them each a bag of candy, and we said, we're not giving out candy this year. And they said, that's okay. And they were so excited to get the bag of candy. That's all they cared about. And it was really cute. And I agree with you, Lydia. I just think we're in dangerous times, and things are getting very, it's that slippery slope thing. It seems harmless on the surface, but is there really something beneath it or beyond it that could be dangerous? And all you have to do, folks, is go on the internet, and you will see a ton of videos, mostly on the Christian networks. Okay, a ton of videos of ex-witches and Satanists that will tell you this is not a holiday, this is not an occasion to play around with. Now, these are people that actually dabbled in the occult or were deeply into the occult for many years, and they're telling us, they're warning us. So there is something to be said to have this conversation. I understand there's a lot of passion on both sides. Some people really get into the whole Halloween mood, and I understand that. But I don't accept that, and I don't have to accept it when I can see that there could be a problem that is waiting for our innocent children. Lydia, you really addressed this very well, and we appreciate everything you shared today. What do you think, Jer?
Well, all I can add is, Lydia, you made a statement that I want to repeat. You said there are bad people who will do things like this. Is that the majority of people? No, probably not. Is that a large number of people? No, probably not. But if there's one person who would do this, see, the innocence of our kids must be safeguarded. And as we've heard on this show today from you, Lydia, and others, there are ways to do this safely and still let the kids have a great time. I mean, look at what our young people are facing today with the ideologies that are out there. And I was hearing recently that there's a movement to punish parents if they don't let their kids engage in this transition, from one gender to the other. Yeah. For me, it should be the opposite way around. Any parent who would allow their child to do that should face serious consequences, because the innocence of our kids is really what is most important right now. And there are so many forces, Debbie and Lydia, in our world today that are trying to tear them down. And all we're saying, I think, on this show is, folks, be smart, be prudent, have a great time on Halloween if that's what you do, but do it safely, and maybe look at some alternatives to the way we used to do it when we were growing up.
That's right.
Anyway.
I agree. Okay, thank you, Lydia. And Jerry, if I may, I would like to just highlight the journey home with John Mark Grodi. Wonderful. Sunday night, 5 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio. Monday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN TV and radio. John Mark Grodi and his guests discuss their personal journeys home, back to the Catholic Church. This week, John Mark talks to Deacon Joe Allison, a former evangelical missionary, about his journey back to the journey to the Catholic faith. So that's going to be a wonderful. Deacon Joe Allison, he became a deacon. Wow. So John Mark will be talking with this wonderful guest, and I love these stories because they are filled with the twists and turns, ups and downs. You talk about exciting journeys back to the Catholic faith. I love it. And John Mark's doing a great job.
Absolutely. That show has helped so many people over the decades now that it's been on. Want to get to a few YouTube comments here, and then we'll go back to your calls on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Colin says, on Christmas, you hardly see any tribute to the birth of our Lord, but at Halloween, people go overboard. I often wonder, who do people really worship? Mary Ann is got a strong position on this, Debbie. She says, I do think Halloween should be canceled this year. Maybe a Halloween party at your house with some neighborhood children would be better. So that's a thought from Mary Ann right there. And Marie says, I agree with Debbie. Don't think it's safe to go around by themselves and take candy from strangers. My parish had a trunk or treat in the parking lot. That is a lot safer. And that is what my parish is doing this afternoon as well.
Not to mention, what if you're going to people's homes and the people are high on something too? You don't know what could happen. I mean, it's all over the place now. So many states have legalized everything. I mean, this is not the same. This is not the same country when we grew up. It's just not. And we have to just make I think, adjustments to, like you said, Jerry, to safeguard the innocence of our children.
Indeed. One more quick YouTube comment, then we'll go to Jane in Pensacola, Florida. Michael J. says, my company had a trick-or-treat event for our families Friday night at the office to make sure the kids got safe candy and didn't have to walk up to strangers' doors at night. So we're kind of checking the temperature out there, Debbie, and it seems like the most of the sentiments that have been expressed on the show so far today are, we need to be really, really cautious about how we approach this. Which is,
I think so.
Nothing new, really, I guess. But.
True. Every year it's gotten worse and worse. Jane, Pensacola, Florida, on Guadalupe Radio Network. You're up next. Hello, Jane.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Our church, I'm in Pensacola, and our church youth group had a trick-or-treat where all the participants, the youth group, dressed up as different saints. And as children went from, like, booth to booth, the saints told them what they're famous for, what they did in life, and that sort of thing. And kids were also instructed, if they wanted to dress up as their favorite saint also. And, I mean, they had archangels, St. Raphael, and, it was wonderful. It was just absolutely fantastic. And at each booth, the child did a little something, and then they got the candy. But, I mean, it was so good just to have these young people tell the younger children, what their saint did and that sort of thing. I just thought it was fantastic. I took my granddaughter, and she was enthralled by it. So, I mean, I think that's the way to go. I really do.
That is a good way to go. Kids don't have to miss out on the fun of Halloween. All of their peers, all of their friends are doing it. Mom, Dad, why can't we do it? Well, you don't have to, exempt them completely. We've heard of the trunk or treats. We heard from Michael J. The party at his company's office for the kids, and now you're talking about your youth group, Jane, which I absolutely love because we spoke about this briefly earlier in the show. This is a chance to build them up spiritually. Feed them with the knowledge of saints, what the saints were known for. See, kids, we got to teach our kids about the saints. They're going to learn about them, as they grow up, especially, when they get around confirmation time. They go through a lot of different saints and learn about them, and they pick a confirmation name and all of that. Well, why not get them started even younger than that? So, Debbie, I think what Jane is talking about with their youth group is a really great idea.
Oh, I think it's wonderful, Jane. And with All Saints Day being a holy day of obligation on Tuesday, Monday night is the Vigil Mass for All Saints Day. I think it would be wonderful to just fill the churches and really pray hard that everybody remains safe and stays away from all the evil things that are around. And I think it would be a wonderful way. And then you can go and eat a ton of dessert and candy, and there you go. You get your fill of the sugar. Jane, thank you so very much for your call. We're going to get to Maria in just a moment. But Jerry, we've got some experts that are in the area of religious demonology weighing in, and they're saying good things is a matter of perspective. The witch says she does good things even though she appeals to created spirits. Lord of the Rings shows magic separate from God as harmless and good. It normalizes magic, not prayer. Wow. I think we covered that. Okay. So we got people weighing in on both sides. Very good discussion happening, and I think it could help all of us. Jerry?
Okay, Maria in San Antonio, you will wrap things up for us. We've got about 2 minutes for you. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, hello. I'd just like to share an experience I had 4 years ago. I was doubting in my heart either to celebrate or not to celebrate Halloween. And 2 weeks before Halloween, my 3-year-old daughter, but before this, I asked the Lord, what should I do? I don't want to celebrate Halloween, but my little ones wanted to celebrate. They wanted to get dressed. So I was praying to God to give me an answer. 2 weeks before Halloween, my 3-year-old daughter woke up very excited, saying she had a dream that she saw this beautiful, beautiful green forest. And she said, Jesus was there, Mom. He was there, and God was there too. But you know what? God told me, do not celebrate Halloween, and do not say wahahaha. And then I got scared because God, his voice was very loud. Just like Daddy's when he gets mad at us, I had to cover my ears because God is mad. But Jesus held me on his lap, and he gave me a beautiful, beautiful white bunny. And he held me tight and just like giving her comfort because she was scared of the loud voice of God. And she saw beautiful other animals, red and blue horses with gold. She was very, very exciting. And ever since that, we decided we do not celebrate Halloween in our home. And I just thought this is a beautiful testimony to share. And it was beautiful just listening to her. And to God responding to my prayer. And he used my 3-year-old. Nobody knew about my prayer asking God either to celebrate her or not, but he did. He responded through her dream.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share this with everyone.
Well, Maria, thank you for doing that. It's obvious that you had some concerns, and at least as far as your family goes, you take this as a kind of a message, a sign from the Lord, and you choose not to participate in Halloween. Obviously, for other people, it's entirely up to them, as you know, and you know, as a parent, you make those decisions. And there may be a lot of other parents, Debbie, who feel the same way or may have had similar experiences, Maria. But for most of them, I still think if they're safe and prudent about going about this, they can still participate in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think there's really some, we should really take notice of when our small children are saying things that they are interpreting things or saying things that God may feel right about situations. Why do I say that? Because when you look at the innocence of a child, they haven't done anything wrong, Jerry, and so it's amazing when it comes out of the mouths of our babes. I think it's quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that is it for today's episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Tomorrow, All Saints Day, we're going to ask you, what are the saints that you go to for heavenly help? That is tomorrow on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're titled it When the Saints Go Marching In.
I love it. Your go-to saints. We're gonna honor the saints tomorrow. I can't wait. Don't forget to go to Mass tonight or tomorrow for the Holy Day of Obligation. We love you guys. Thank you to the Take Two family. What a great discussion today. And until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We ask Saint Joseph, please pray for all of us.